r/ask Reddit. What widely accepted fact do you know is wrong? Goldfishes really do not have a memory span of 5 seconds. They actually remember things for months, recognize their owners, and are able to distinguish them from other people. I had 2 goldfish when I was younger. Their names were Paula and Mr. Fishy. When Mr. Fishy died, Paula spent the next couple of days frantically swimming around the tank trying to find him. It was heartbreaking to watch. NASA spent $$ inventing a pen that worked in space and the Russians used pencils. Total bollocks. The Fisher Pen Company was independent and developed its space pen with zero investment from NASA. American astronauts began using mechanical pencils in space. Tiny fragments of graphite and graphite dust floating around the spacecraft was not ideal because graphite is conductive. It's also combustible. So everyone was keen to find an alternative. Fisher patented its first zero-gravity pen in 1965, and in 1967 NASA began using it. By 1969 Russia were also buying them for their space missions. Reportedly both NASA and the Soviet Space Company received the same discount for their bulk purchases. We are here for you during these unprecedented times. I work in higher education. They have been saying this throughout the pandemic. They announced yesterday that staff will not receive their annual raise or bonus. They have also furloughed staff. Faculty, which includes administration, will receive those raises and bonus, and none have been furloughed. Even in the email where they told us we would not receive the raise bonus, it was this shit: "We're here for you. We appreciate you. Blah, blah, blah." That cracking your knuckles too often will cause arthritis. This thread reads like a spotter's guide to stuff my mum told me when I was young. That you have to wait 24 hours to report someone missing in the USA. There is no law about waiting. You don't have to push to make the police cooperate and list the person missing immediately when you suspect something isn't right. Don't lose precious time. It's extremely important if the person truly is missing. We are experiencing a temporary high volume of phone calls. Your call is important to us. Listen, please listen carefully, as our options have recently changed. The first is to make people more likely to wait happily. Second is to try and get them to pay attention to the options which haven't been changed in 20 years. If you tell the truth, I won't get mad. This is exactly the same as saying if you confess, you won't go in jail. Napoleon wasn't small. He was just the victim of good propaganda by the eventual winners. Also, his personal guard had a strict height requirement, so he was always around someone taller than him. Schizophrenia has nothing to do with a split personality. There is also a pretty big difference between someone being moody and someone who has bipolar disorder. It drives me crazy when someone says that someone is so bipolar if they change their minds often or are in a bad mood. People generally don't know about the severity of the ups and downs. That you swallow 8 spiders a year in your sleep. The origins of that myth is so weird. It made its way around message boards in the 90s and possibly earlier. Then at some point, the Snopes Usenet board, pre-website, claimed that the myth was invented by a tech journalist who wanted to illustrate how lies spread on the internet. Except that Snopes lied. The journalist never existed. So now there's a second layer to the myth, that being the myth of who invented it and why. People definitely expected the Spanish Inquisition. We only use 10% of our brain. So, what, like 12%? Edit. I'm getting serious replies to this. Totally appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. But I was just kidding with this comment. People didn't think the earth was flat 500 years ago. It was theorized to be round in the 5th century BC. The Americas were just not known yet except to indigenous Americans, and it was believed that there was a vast ocean between Europe and Asia. People believed Columbus' voyage would fail because he would exhaust his food and supplies before crossing it. Edit. Holy ducking s%, it. This is the most liked comment I've ever made. Thanks for the medals, kind stranger. Cutting your hair makes it grow faster. Here's the lowdown on hair. Hairstylist of 10+ years here. There's no such thing as dead ends. Your entire strand of hair is dead. Your ends can be dry or split, but not dead. Cutting hair won't make it grow faster. Getting regular trims just keeps it healthier as it grows. Everything else is based on genetics. From density, texture, growth rate, how long it'll grow overall, terminal length, and how strong it is all genetically determined. Therefore, everyone's experience with cutting growing will be different, and this changes over time as people get older. Also, it's impossible to cut the curl out of hair. I've had people who insist that a stylist cut the curl out of their hair once. Some curl patterns don't form until the hair strand is a certain length, and if it's shorter than necessary for the full curl pattern, the hair will appear straighter. The opposite is also true. Some hair gets curlier as the hair gets shorter. Also, hair texture can change with puberty, pregnancy, age, and medications, which can cause hair to get curlier or straighter. See how many potential variables hairstylists have to work with? What fun! Other than that, things like the quality of products you use. If you color it, chemically retexturize it, style with heat tool, swim, spend a lot of time in the sun, take certain medications, have certain medical conditions, all have an effect on hair. Just because one person chops their hair off once a year and grows hair down their back in a year, and one person has been trying to grow their bob out for 4 years means nothing. That's two different people with different genetic codes for their hair. And while we're at it, here's a crash course on hair color. When you put dye in your hair, even if it's the same color as your natural hair, the pigment molecules are stuck in there to some extent forever. In some cases, yes, certain types of temporary color will pretty much wash out, but that brown box dye put on your long brown hair 3 years ago is still in there even though it's exactly the same color and you can't see it. The only way to remove dark hair color is to use bleach. There are also color removers for specific uses. This does not return your hair to its natural color. You cannot remove hair color and be left with your starting natural hair color. The other thing to know is that color doesn't lift color, meaning you can't put a lighter shade of hair color over top hair that's been dyed darker and have it magically turned a lighter color. The pigment must be removed with bleach and recolored to the lighter color. Hair color only affects virgin hair. So if you have dark brown hair with colored dark brown ends, and you put light brown all over everything, you'll get light brown roots with the same dark brown ends. Makes sense. Bleaching is a whole nother ball of wax. Bleach will lighten virgin hair more easily and more quickly than colored hair, and it lightens the strongest at the root, where there's heat from your scalp, and slowest at the ends where there is no heat. This is called hot roots. Go watch some Brad Mondo bleaching fails on YT for more on this. And to finish, you can't turn dyed dark hair into platinum silver white in an hour for $100. Go get a nice platinum lassifrant wig and live your platinum fantasy without the heartache and ducked up hair. If you made it this far, I appreciate you, and your hairstylist appreciates you. If you have a cold, you should get lots of vitamin C. This is completely down to one scientist called Linus Pauling who had a theory that massive doses of vitamin C would cure colds. Subsequent studies have shown he was wrong and any benefits are minimal at best. Yet I still get everyone telling me to drink orange juice whenever I get a sniffle. Sugarcane grows faster on sand. Well, you can blame Minecraft for that one. Left and right-brained people who are either more artistic or more numbers-based, just as inaccurate as the parts of your tongue that taste different things, yet people still say it. I really wish people wouldn't limit their own potential like that. Sorry, I just don't do math. I'm more of a creative type. Or I think too logically for art. Like, what? Look at Leonardo da Vinci. The dude invented a flying machine and painted the Mona Lisa at the same time. Creativity and logic are not mutually exclusive. Edit. Tattoo. The Great Wall of China can be seen from space. Space, however, can be seen from the Great Wall of China. LOL, this guy believes in space. The lawsuit over McDonald's coffee burn wasn't some ridiculous old lady looking to cheat the system and get money. She was legit severely burned and basically got very little money out of it. Astronomer here. People always say Jupiter protects us from getting hit by asteroids because its larger gravitational pull attracts them. I believe it was on a certain popular astronomy show. In fact, this does not appear to be the case. See, while Jupiter does indeed interact with more things, It is both good and bad. Some things hit Jupiter or get flung away. Some things get flung directly at Earth that otherwise wouldn't. Most famously, in 1770 Lexell's comet passed closer to Earth than any other comet ever observed, missing us by just 6 Earth-Moon widths. Turns out Jupiter flung it straight at us right before that. So yeah, we almost died thanks to Jupiter. And good and bad comes from having it as a neighbor. Glass is actually an extremely viscous, slow-flowing liquid. That's why old windows are thicker on the bottom. No, it isn't. It's very clearly a solid. It's a disordered, non-crystalline solid, but still solid. Old windows are thicker on the bottom because they were designed that way. Edit. To everyone telling me that it is an amorphous solid. Yes, that's right. That's why I said it was disordered and non-crystalline. Still a solid though. It's not Luke, I am your father, but no, I am your father. Depends on if you are watching Tommy Boy or not. Frankenstein isn't the name of the monster, it's the name of the doctor who created the monster. But I saw this great comment on a YouTube video. Knowledge is knowing Frankenstein isn't the monster. Wisdom is knowing that Frankenstein is the monster. Edit. For those of you who didn't understand that comment, it's saying that Dr. Frankenstein is the actual monster of the story. That different places on your tongue taste different things such as sour. That Einstein failed math was otherwise a poor student. In my school there was a poster of Einstein with a quote, "Do not worry about your difficulties in mathematics. I assure you mine are greater." It was supposed to be an inspirational quote, showing how even the greatest mathematicians struggled with math, but I always saw it as Einstein telling someone to shut up about their petty math problems while he was busy trying to figure out how the universe worked. That the human only has 5 senses. Considering sense of humor, I still have only 5 of them. You don't really have an allergy to monosodium glutamate. That carrots help with your eyesight. It was propaganda by the Allies in World War II to hide the fact that they had radar. Gladiators did not kill each other. The sport was much more civil and it even had a referee. The spectacle of the games included brutal executions, sometimes of hundreds of people. These executions were done in the most creative ways possible, like throwing people to hungry lions. The gladiators were the least brutal part of the games. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Oh my god, ugh. That daddy long legs are the most venomous spider in the world. They just can't bite you, and you swallow X amount-eyed spiders a year in your sleep. Mr. Rogers was a sniper in Vietnam. A duck's quack doesn't echo. There's only 4 states of matter. Solid, liquid, gas and plasma. What else is there? Genuine question. Your head does not lose proportionately more heat than the rest of your body. It's about the same. This one particularly annoys me. Yes, it's true if you're fully clothed but not wearing a hat. Obviously the only unclothed part of your body will lose more body heat than the rest. But no. If you're naked, you're probably going to lose less body heat through the part of your body that's covered in hair. You do not consume spiders while you sleep. It was one of the first misinformation memes. When I hear people say you swallow X amount of spiders in your sleep, I always like to respond with, yep, so think about how many crawl in and out of your mouth that don't get swallowed, and watch their faces drop. That 2 blue-eyed people can't have a brown-eyed kid. They can. But it comes down to recessive blue gene. Too complicated to go into it, but seeing the charts that are like 1 + 1 brown will make a 50/50 chance of blue or brown eye baby. 2 blues will only make a blue or a green, etc. It ain't true. There are a bunch of different genes that control eye color. The myth that 2 blue-eyed people can't have dark-eyed children comes from the oversimplified biology lessons where they teach eye color is controlled by 1 allele. If that were true, and dark is dominant, then yeah, it wouldn't be possible. But the genetics are more complicated than that and can't be easily represented in the classic Punnett square plus pedigree. That Hitler was vegetarian. He wasn't. It was propaganda spread to make him seem a more compassionate person. That you have to buy new razor blades every week or 2. Razors don't dull because use. They dull because they rust. If you thoroughly dry them or oil them, they can last for almost a year and still work just fine. This is coming from a bald guy who shaves his head every other day. Computer viruses are entirely preventable phenomenon. If it is too good to be true, it usually fkin is. This is a bit of a rant from someone in the industry. Does anyone truly comprehend the arms race that is virus production versus virus prevention? We have gotten to the point where all you have to do is click a verified trusted AD from your favorite secure website and the tiniest little packet of data happens to be a keylogger just waiting for you to start typing passwords and social security numbers. Although these lightweight programs usually get erased once you close the browser. I cannot count the amount of people I've had to tell that, while I can uninstall a virus, I cannot undo the damage it may have done to their personal data. This stuff happens to people using these secure websites which supposedly vet their advertisers. Just to name a few: YouTube's second worst offender, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Duckeye and Google, worst offender of all. When you have a nosebleed you should put your head forward, not backwards. Otherwise the blood runs down your throat and can choke you. Edit. Spelling. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost is not about how the road less traveled is better. It's about how you cannot know how life would have turned out if you had made different choices. So you have to convince yourself that your choice made the difference. He looks down both paths and while one looked slightly less worn, they were really equal with no tracks on either. But he knew he would never be back to make that same choice again. So he imagines that in the future he will say with a sigh that taking the one less traveled made all the difference. He's just making peace with a choice he cannot change. Tourette's syndrome isn't always exclusively swearing uncontrollably. It represents a wide range of tics, both verbal, not verbal and physical. Every case is different. You shouldn't piss yourself when a stingray stings you. That only makes the pain worse. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.